right, welcome back to Liquid Lunch on a fabulous Friday here in downtown Toronto. The weather's getting perfect. It'll be perfect for a couple of weeks, and then it'll be too hot. Then it'll be perfect for a couple of days, and then it'll be too cold again. But today's perfect, and Hildegard is my co-host today.
Yeah,
Hildegard,
thanks for having me.
we have a fabulous next guest. Why don't
We
you...
have an amazing lady with us, and we have Marsha Lecour here. Thank you so much for being with us, Martha. You're an author. You're about to release your book on Hepatitis C, 7 Simple Steps to Shift from Surviving to Thriving After Hepatitis C. Welcome, Marsha, and thank you for coming here to tell us your story. Which, when I first heard about it, I thought, how can you be so calm and nice and loving? And when I heard part of your story, I got really upset. What happened?
Well, let me go back a bit here. When I was born, I was diagnosed with an opening in the heart called patent ductus arteriosus, which means that an artery should have been closed and it wasn't. And that meant that I would have to have open heart surgery at age 4. So at age 4, I was put into the hospital for sick children, had the surgery with Dr. Fraser Muster, which turned out to be very successful. And at the same time, I received a blood transfusion. The blood transfusion contained tainted blood, and that's how I contracted hepatitis C.
However, that didn't become apparent right away, did
No,
it?
that's correct. That's right.
You know what's weird is, like, we hear about hepatitis C all the time, right? And it's associated with, I guess, I don't know what it's associated with, but, but the thing is, I don't really know what it is or what the symptoms are. Can you tell us what that's all about?
So generally, this is how people get it, through blood-to-blood contact. Now, you wouldn't get it through just hugging somebody or shaking their hand. It has to be blood-to-blood contact.
Right, okay, so it's like...
and yet it can be transmitted through sexual intercourse?
It can, through a small percentage, and they're doing some research on that right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So blood transfusion is one way to get it. Other ways, people, if you've shared an IV needle...
yeah, that's right. That's what I was trying to think of.
So drug use.
Yeah. Sometimes people with alcohol will contract hepatitis C.
And it's associated with the liver, is that right?
That's right. It creates ongoing damage to the liver over a period of many years. And people who have hepatitis C may not even know they have it and may not show symptoms for many years.
What would some of the symptoms be?
Could be fatigue, could be depression. People get anemic. Sometimes they have brain fog, maybe some difficulty with remembering things.
That could be everybody.
Yeah, it could be everybody. Yeah. Now, the biggest target group right now that we're asking people to get diagnosed are baby boomers, and those are people in Canada born anywhere between 1945 to 1965.
Now, why that group?
Actually, Dr. Feld and I he's a liver researcher at the University of Toronto. He happens to be my liver doctor, and he was saying that that's the group. At the Big Carrot last night, we did a talk, which is a health food store in Toronto, and he was saying that's the group that probably has the highest risk factors. And he says he's not interested in determining what are the risk factors. He's just saying that's the group that really needs to be tested.
So everybody should be tested in that group,
Ultimately,
pretty much?
Yes.
Wow, and what is involved in the test?
It's a simple blood test that's covered by OHIP.
Wow.
But what specifically does he attribute that risk factor to? Did he give any indication?
Well, for example, if you're born in that group, a lot of us grew up in the 60s, and we were doing a number of things that contributed to the risk factors. IV
What were
drug
those things?
use, for example, that was a big one. Sometimes if you had many sex partners, there could be transmission if there's some kind of a blood-to-blood contact, alcohol use, things
so it
like
was
that.
the open, free love kind of era.
Yeah, sort of thing. But we don't want to sort of say, one specific factor. It's just baby boomers within that group get tested.
So you had a very ordinary medical checkup.
I did.
What happened? Please tell us about
Okay,
it. How did you
so-
become aware that you actually had that?
My family physician said to me, we noticed something unusual in your blood work. related to the liver.
And how old were you at this point?
At that point, this was the late 80s.
Okay.
And so that would have been, let me guess here. Where are we now? 2016? So, born in 52, 72, late 30s, let's say.
Okay.
Okay? And as a result of that, he said, I'm sending you to a liver specialist. Went to a liver specialist at the Toronto General Hospital. At the time, they hadn't detected the blood marker yet for hepatitis C. So I was diagnosed with non-A, non-B hepatitis. And I said to the doctor, I've never heard of hepatitis. What is it? Then he told me it's a virus that attacks the liver. And I remember two things he said very clearly. He said, you are not a candidate for treatment right now because you don't have enough damage to the liver. However, you will probably be a candidate for a liver transplant down the road.
Whoa, that's not good news.
No.
What do you mean? Not enough damage?
To the
They're
liver.
kind of told you go home, get damaged some more?
That's still the situation today for treatment.
Really?
But I will talk about that in a minute. So let me come back to this liver transplant. So I said, tell me more about liver transplants. He said, right now we are working with pigs' livers. And I thought, pigs' livers? I really can't see myself having a pig's liver because I'm a vegetarian. So there's no way on God's green earth that you're going to put a pig's liver inside of me. So I decided then I was going to become my own advocate and do whatever I could that was legal, moral, and ethical to either eradicate the damage to the liver or slow it down. And over a course of many years, I spent a lot of money and I tried naturopathy, homeopathy, meditation, all kinds of things. And I had hepatitis C for over 50 years, so I think I was one of those few people who was fortunate to be able to live a fairly good quality of life with that. That's a long duration of hepatitis C.
And yet you weren't aware of it until
the late 80s.
Late
Yeah,
80s.
and like you lived almost your whole life up until just
A couple of years ago.
until your late 30s,
Not knowing
knowing that you had it.
Yeah.
So that's an excellent rationale
Yeah.
for that. Everyone in that age group that you said
Yeah,
should
exactly.
probably go and get a test for.
Yeah.
What did it for you then? How did you, not wanting the pig liver because you're vegetarian, actually very nice, what happened next? So you went all these different alternative routes. What would you say brought you to a point where your blood showed no more hepatitis C?
Well, okay, so here's what happened. So I was mentioning Dr. Jordan Feld, who I did a talk with last night at the Big Carrot. He had been monitoring me for many years, and he finally said in the fall of 2013, he said, okay, the time has come now where you will need treatment because there's more damage to your liver. And I thought my back's against the wall, so I had to do treatment. So long story short, I did treatment from April of 2013 to May 2013 to April 2014 for 48 weeks. And as a result of that, it was sort of similar to chemo with side effects like hair loss, lost weight, depression. Had to go to a therapist for the depression. I didn't want to take, antidepressants.
Was it like?
It was pretty brutal.
Was it pills that you were taking, or
Pills
was
and
it?
self-injections where you give yourself a needle once a week.
And what was what were they giving you that?
So-
what does it do?
So triple therapy, here's what it was. It was ribavirin, interferon, and Insivec. And Insivec, another name for that was tolaprovir. And I took the tolaprovir for 12 weeks. And it was the worst 12 weeks of the entire treatment. It was brutal.
Now, did it help your liver? Did it help with the...
Well, as a result of all that,
Yeah.
I am cured now.
Cured?
Yes,
so
I am
what were
cured.
these drugs to do? To get rid of the virus?
Yes, get rid of the virus.
So you're actually cured.
I am now officially cured. And I want to say now, hepatitis C, as far as I know, is the only infectious disease that has a cure.
Wow, that's...
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And that's why Dr. Feld is really on the bandwagon to let the whole world know that there is now a known cure for hepatitis C with the new drugs. Now, back then, I was taking this old form with ribavirin and interferon. The success rate was about 65%. Now, it's 95%.
And what does make the difference?
It's new meds with very few side effects. And you only have to take it, I think, anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks.
So people today to do that wouldn't go through the same problems that you had when you went. And
not
a greater
at all.
likelihood of success. Even,
Yeah.
right?
And so Dr. Feld is at University of Toronto?
Yes, he's a major researcher. He's a professor at the University of Toronto, and he has a liver clinic at the Toronto General Hospital.
So if anybody's listening now and has challenges with their liver, it may be good to make a notation of that
Right.
name.
I
And
mean, that sounds like big news.
that
is
is
There's
huge
a cure
news.
for hepatitis
That's
C.
right. Now, there's
right?
no vaccine, but there is a cure. It's huge news.
Yeah.
Huge.
How come we don't know about that?
Well, we're starting to get on the bandwagon. He and I had a meeting at Queen's Park with a prominent MPP on Wednesday, who gave us his listening ear, and he has connections to, the Minister of Health, and so we've put that wheel in motion.
So how long has this cure been in existence then?
Just a couple of years now
Wow.
with these new medications.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be administered before the liver had fallen apart to a certain degree?
Now, this is
it
one of
just
the...
doesn't make a sense
This is
to
one
me.
of the problems. So, let me talk about cancer, for example. Cancer has 4 stages of damage, or let's say 4 stages of cancer. The oncologist does not say to you, okay, Mary Jane, come back when you have stage 3 cancer. Right now, hepatitis C has 4 stages of damage to the liver.
And yet you're told, come back when you're worse.
We will only treat you at stages 3 and 4 and not stage 1 and 2.
That must be devastating.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, too. The longer you wait to get treated, the more it's going to cost the government down the road. Because if you have more damage, then you increase the likelihood that you're going to get both a liver transplant and get cancer. So it makes an economic sense to treat early.
And when you were told, just go home, try again to get worse, did these
here's
technologies exist already? Did
No,
Dr.
let me-
Feld have that ready
No.
yet or not yet?
Now, I was one of the lucky ones. Now, in late 80s when I was first diagnosed, I was told, you're not a candidate. Now, during those years, my white cell count, blood cell count, was low. So I could not take treatment until my white blood cell count went up. So that was a factor for me that was unique to me.
Now that they've added new drugs and improved the cure, do you have to have, could you...
The white cell count, I don't think is a factor now with the new meds.
Yeah.
And when I did take treatment under the old medical regime, my white blood cell count, fortunately, had increased. So I was in a good spot to take treatment. Now, even with the eradication of the hepatitis C, I have cirrhosis, which is more damage to the liver. But fortunately, on my last appointment with Dr. Feld, he said, your liver is improving.
Because it can get better, right? The liver can fix
Can
itself.
regenerate
Yes.
itself. Our organs regenerate
Yes,
themselves every
yes.
so often
So there's
anyway.
enough
right?
good tissue, I think, in the liver where it's improving.
Well, considering what you've been through, oh
Yeah.
my God, this is
Yeah.
incredible.
And the other thing I want to point out, now, the book of hepatitis C, it's actually the 7 simple strategies to shift from surviving to thriving after hepatitis C. Why did I write this book? Because at the end of treatment, I was a complete basket case. I had been in bed, I was underweight, I was anemic, I was depressed, and I thought, got to get something in place for people. So I found that through 7 simple steps that you follow, you can shift. And a lot of it has to do with what's going on up here. I think, when you have a chronic condition, you adopt a mindset of, poor me, I have hepatitis C, I'm not going to get better, And the shift has to start first internally. The mind, as you know, there's a really strong connection between the mind and the body. The body has a direct impact on the mind, and in turn the mind directly influences the body.
Well, I think one thing that can immediately help everybody who gets the diagnosis is the knowledge that there's a cure.
Yeah.
Right?
Huge.
I mean, that is
Huge.
Immediately offers hope for people.
Yeah.
And that some lovely lady, such as yourself, is out there to talk to and to contact. Because you can give a lot of that inner journey that maybe other people now have to go through validity.
Yes.
You know, when you're kind of the way shore on it, you didn't have anybody to cry on the shoulder of. You didn't have anybody to, it's getting better.
Yeah. And so what I'm doing now, I'm offering to empower and mentor others who are in the hepatitis C community, because I have walked in their shoes. And so what I want to do now is walk with people, sort of taking them by the hand, going through the 7 steps, and helping them to get their life back. Because when you have hepatitis C, it's not pleasant. You know, and there's so much stigma around hepatitis C.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of
But we
stigma.
haven't even talked about that, because
No,
then
and that's
people immediately assume what kind of a lifestyle you have
Exactly.
lived and
Yes.
what's wrong
Yes.
with you, quote
Yes.
unquote. I mean, this is
Yeah.
for anybody. This is why
Yeah.
people don't talk about sexual abuse and any kind of relationship violence, because they don't want to be labeled as kooky or, you know, having a bad lifestyle in the past.
Exactly. And, you know, I don't think it's fair to judge people in terms of how they contracted it. It doesn't matter. The point is you have it. Let's get you tested. Let's get you treated so that you can move on with your life.
Now, we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to get this one question in, if I may. What about people who have hepatitis C and then have children? Is it get passed on to the children necessarily?
No, I think the percentage for that is very, very low.
Okay.
I've known of cases where a mother has had Hep C and was not transmitted to her child.
Well, like you said, you need the blood-to-blood contact, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unusual.
Yeah.
Well, but I thought because they're sharing the same blood, more or less.
I think the percentage
Nice.
of that is very low. Very low.
So what is it that you're offering for people? Do you have like workshops coming up? Or do you support
actually-
people one-on-one?
Yeah, I'm going to support people one-on-one. I'm also doing group coaching program, and I'm creating an online digital program for people that they can go through from the comfort of their own home. And now, if people want to get in touch with me, they can go to my website, marshalecour.com, or they can find me on facebook.com/shift2thriving.
I like that.
That's
Shift
my
to
public
thriving.
page.
And,
And-
of course, one of the things they can do is just get the book, right? And,
Yes.
And where would people get their hands on the book?
It's going to be available. Book launch is actually tomorrow. So
Really?
after tomorrow, it's going to be available at Amazon.com.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So again, the name of the book of Hepatitis C, 7 Simple Strategies to Shift from Surviving to Thriving After Hepatitis C.
And you are the perfect example of that. Thank you so very much for being here with us today.
I loved being here.
I wish you all the best and much success with the
Thank
work
you.
with people who have, unfortunately, the same passage that you have been through.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being
Great
here.
to be here. Thank
So we have one more guest to come here on ThatChannel.com. Stay with us and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.